Hi, and welcome to the second episode of Operation Navy Watch. I'm Katarina Bandura. October was a very busy month for the Royal Canadian Navy this year and years past. Today we're going to meet the new addition to the Arctic and Offshore patrol ships family, visit our sailors in Holland and England, and try to understand the meaning of our Navy's presence in the Indo-Pacific. We're also going to indulge in some spooky stuff, saved for the very end. Let's get down to it! Before we begin with our naval update, I would like to correct a mistake from the previous episode. In the On This Day portion, I mentioned that HMCS Ottawa was commissioned on September 28, 1966. In fact, it should be 1996. Thank you to the audience for catching this slip. The newest addition to Canada's Arctic and Offshore patrol ships family has been launched on October 23rd. The 6,000-ton HMCS Max Bernays was rolled onto the barge in Halifax on Friday, October 22nd, and launched into the Bedford Basin the following day. Max Bernays is Canada's third Arctic and Offshore patrol ship belonging to the Harry de Wolf Offshore Patrol Vessel class. HMCS Harry de Wolf and HMCS Margaret Brooke are the first two ships of this class. Both were launched in 2020 and 2021, respectively. The construction has been delegated to Irvine Shipbuilding Company in Halifax, the most modern and largest shipbuilding facility in North America. The company delivered the ship to the Canadian Navy despite the issues that slowed the project down. The CBC News reported back in January that the ship build started 2 years later than originally scheduled. After work started in 2015 on the first ship, HMCS Harry de Wolf, Irvine said it would only be able to build 5 ships with a $3.1 billion budgeted for the project. Technical problems were also blamed for pushing the delivery date back several times. Then, Irvine closed its Halifax shipyard in March for several months because of COVID-19. HMCS Max Bernays was built in Halifax under the federal government's Arctic and Offshore Patrol Shipbuilding project aimed to help with military operations in the Arctic. The project's current acquisition budget is $4.3 billion. The multi-billion-dollar shipbuilding plan aims to deliver 6 ice-capable ships, designated as the Harry de Wolf class.
The new Arctic and Offshore patrol ships are designed with a thick, robust hull that will allow them to break through over a meter of first-year ice.
These vessels will be capable of armed seaborne surveillance of Canada's waters, providing government situational awareness of activities in the region, and cooperating with partners to assert and enforce Canadian sovereignty.
50 caliber machine guns, the Harry de Wolf class has enough firepower to easily enforce domestic laws from coast to coast to coast.
The first 2 vessels delivered by Irvine have already dipped their bows in water. HMCS Harry de Wolf is currently visiting San Diego, while HMCS Margaret Brooke is getting ready for sea trials in November. After Max Bernays, Irvine will deliver HMCS William Hall, HMCS Frederick Rolette, and HMCS Robert Hampton Gray. HMCS Max Bernays is named after Chief Petty Officer Max Bernays, who is considered a Canadian naval hero for his role in the Battle of the Atlantic during the Second World War. He was awarded the Conspicuous Gallantry Medal for his actions aboard HMCS Assiniboine on August 6, 1942. The RCN's Pacific Fleet Chief called Max Bernays an amazing platform that will serve the RCN well into the future. The ship will remain at the Halifax shipyard while construction continues. She will be delivered to the Royal Canadian Navy in 2022 and will become the first ship in the new Harry de Wolf class to be stationed on Canada's west coast. HMCS Charlottetown has completed the 18th Run for Wishes campaign. The ship's company ran 400 kilometers within Prince Edward Island, raking up a total of $32,500 on October 6. The goal of the fundraiser was to assist Make-A-Wish of Canada PEI chapter in granting wishes for the local children. To date, Run for Wishes has raised over $515,000, granting 52 wishes for the children. Charlottetown's crew also donated to the campaign, not just with their shoes, but also with their wallets. The coxswain presented a check for $1,000 on behalf of HMCS Charlottetown Chiefs and Petty Officers Mess, while the president of the mess committee presented a check for $3,000. The run was part of the 2021 National Defense Workplace Charitable Campaign, which ran from October 4th to December 15th. The campaign provides defense team members with a direct line to donate to over 85,000 charities, including organizations with strong ties to Canada's military. Defense team members participated in a variety of activities on Canada's both coasts, from enjoying pancake breakfast at Esquimos Chiefs and Petty Officers Mess on October 5th to walking the plank into a chilly Halifax Harbour on October 29. Two of Canada's ships companies held a change of command ceremonies this October. Lieutenant Commander Travis Bain handed over HMCS Moncton to Lieutenant Commander Jonathan Maurice on October 27. HMCS Moncton is the second Canadian warship to wear that name. The original vessel was commissioned in 1942 and took part in the Battle of the Atlantic. The current HMCS Moncton was commissioned over 50 years later in 1998. In September, HMCS Moncton returned to St. John's after participating in Cutlass Fury 21. Next month, she plans to join HMCS Cabot in removal of unexploded ordnance from shipwrecks off Bell Island in Newfoundland. HMCS York also held a change of command ceremony. Now at her helm is Commander Paul Smith, who took over the ship from Commander Walter Moniz during an October 2nd ceremony. HMCS York moved to the Canadian National Exhibition Grounds for the duration of Second World War, serving as an important recruit and training base. The unit was officially commissioned as an HMC ship in 1941. HMCS York has a detachment in Barrie that trains in the Barrie Armory. May they have fair winds and following seas. At the end of October, HMCS York made a splash at the Barrie waterfront. About 60 members of 7 Naval Reserve divisions from across Ontario gathered at the Kempenfeld Bay to conduct mandatory training exercises on October 23rd and 24th. The training included helping boats in distress, practicing for search and rescue, and learning the ropes on navigational challenges in unfamiliar waters. The new commanding officer of HMCS York, Paul Smith, said that the training will allow the teams to refresh skills in navigation, launching, and beaching boats. We are getting the team familiar with navigational hazards in the area in case we're called this way, Smith told CTV News on October 24th. In the coming months, the team plans to conduct a similar exercise in Muskoka to train for potential flooding rescues. The last corvette closed her doors to the public for the remainder of 2021.
She's now 80 years old. She was one of 123 ships that were built here in Canada prior to and during the Second World War.
HMCS Sackville, Canada's last surviving Flower-class corvette, performed a committal ceremony on September 24th off Point Pleasant Park before returning to dockyard on October 8th. As reported by the Trident newspaper, the committal of ashes ceremony aboard HMCS Sackville has long been an important annual event for the historic ship, taking place once a year on Battle of the Atlantic Sunday. We remind you that in January 2021, HMCS Sackville underwent a restoration period.
Ford says these rusty plates are a sign of what 80 years in salt water will do to a steel hull. The goal of the refit is to place steel plates on top of the rusted ones.
This will give her many more years of service. After she's refitted, she gets back into her routine of going down to the waterfront. She spends her summers down there telling the story of the Second World War, the Battle of the Atlantic, and the Corvette.
At the beginning of October, HMCS Fredericton anchored near the Netherlands after conducting maritime security awareness patrols in the Norwegian Sea. During a port visit to Den Helder on October 5th, standing NATO Maritime Group 1 flagship duties were transferred from HMCS Fredericton to ESPS Almirante Juan de Borbón. after which HMCS Fredericton began her scheduled rest and maintenance period. Fredericton left Den Helder on October 17 and will join other NATO ships from Spain, Portugal, Belgium, Norway, and the Netherlands to resume fleet operational sea training. On October 21st, the fleet proceeded to Portsmouth, England for rest and provisions, before carrying on with their operational training program in the North Atlantic. The same week, Fredericton's crew trained in air defense capabilities during exercises off the British coast, where she was deployed withstanding NATO Maritime Group 1 as part of Operation Reassurance. In September, Fredericton joined his Dutch Majesty ship Van Amstel and his Norwegian Majesty ship Maud before sailing to Glasgow, Scotland for a short port visit. Fredericton left England on October 25th, making way towards Helsinki, where she docked with the Portuguese and Spanish frigates. Stay tuned for their shenanigans in the Finnish dock. Canada's first Arctic and offshore patrol ship, Harry de Wolf, is back at circumventing North America. After checking off 2 major milestones during her maiden voyage, Harry de Wolf docked in British Columbia for a brief maintenance period. On October 22nd, Harry de Wolf left BC towards San Diego, where she arrived on October 27th. The ship is set to participate in Operation Carib, a US-led counter-narcotics operation in the Caribbean Sea and the Eastern Pacific Ocean. Harry de Wolf will work on both sides of the Panama Canal. Canadian sailors helped solve a shortage of the most critical item on board of a British ship, the supply of tea. The flag officer's mess aboard HMS Queen Elizabeth, the UK's newest aircraft carrier, suffered a shortage of tea during multilateral exercises in the Pacific in mid-October. To help avert the crisis, HMCS Winnipeg's commanding officer Doug Layton offered Commodore Steve Morehouse 3 boxes of Earl Grey during his routine check-in with the Canadian patrol frigate. A British warship running out of tea is equivalent to a Canadian ship running out of maple syrup, said the Canadian here on their Twitter page. Bravo Zulu to Canadian sailors for helping out our allies. After boosting the British morale, HMCS Winnipeg made waves during the rest of her visit to the Indo-Pacific. As we reported in our September issue, HMCS Winnipeg arrived in Korea on September 24th, with plans to participate in a multilateral exercise with 6 other navies. However, Winnipeg raised some eyebrows mid-October when she sailed through the Taiwan Strait with the US destroyer USS Dewey on her way to a UN security operation. The move drew swift condemnation from Beijing, which followed with 10 Chinese and Russian naval vessels passing together through the Tugara Strait on October 18th for the first time ever. The sail pass was a clear flex of Russian and Chinese sea power in front of the Canadian and American vessels. Canada's presence in the Indo-Pacific brings attention to the Canadian Navy's ability to uphold to our long-standing commitment to a stable and rules-based international maritime order. In a world where the evolving balance of power forecasts the return of a major power competitor, the Royal Canadian Navy must remain highly attuned to the changing nature of conflict. The RCN's 2017-2022 strategic plan acknowledged the emergence of maritime challenges in the shape of a significant investment in naval power in the world, principally in the Indo-Asia-Pacific region. On October 29, Al Jazeera reported that the world is paying closer attention to the modernization of China's armed forces and its pursuit of ever more sophisticated weaponry. Given Canada's chilly relations with China, an open war is not expected anytime soon. However, Canada's strategic commitment to the Indo-Pacific amid high tensions calls for a navy to be ready. Canada needs a strong, modern blue water navy to be able to counter conflict and support the international world order if such a time comes. So, how do we get such a navy? A comprehensive discussion piece of RCN's policy, Leadmark 2050, clearly establishes the characteristics of a blue water navy. According to the paper, Canada's blue water navy must be balanced, combat-effective, multi-purpose, Arctic-capable, globally deployable, forward-postured, survivable, and adaptable and agile. Basically, Canada's Navy must possess a balanced mix of platforms along with a bold approach to maritime security, and not just the Indo-Pacific but in other parts of the world as well. For example, this past July, the RCN sent 24 personnel to Odessa, Ukraine to participate in exercise Sea Breeze 21. On June 29, Lieutenant Colonel Melanie Lake told the Navy News that the capacity and strong relationships built during the exercise will directly contribute to Black Sea regional security, safety, and stability. Canada's presence in the Black Sea undoubtedly provides deterrence to the Russian forces, just like our presence in Taiwan reiterates our commitment to a free and open Indo-Pacific. International lawyer and public policy counselor Lawrence Herman commented that a Canadian frigate sailing through the Taiwan Strait on a voyage of innocent passage demonstrates Canada's insistence on rights under international law. Regardless of China's reaction, HMCS Winnipeg's presence in the Indo-Pacific reiterates the RCN's mission to prepare combat-effective naval forces that support Canadian interests at home and abroad. And while the Chinese were resenting the Canadian frigate for passing the Taiwan Strait, HMCS Winnipeg's crew had good food and good times. The 2021 Admiral's Medal was presented to former naval reservist and friend to the Royal Canadian Navy on October 6. Retired Lieutenant Peter Ward was honored for his effort to save HMCS Haida from the scrapyard in 1964. Ward is the last member of Haida Inc., which saved the ship from the wreckers and moved it to Toronto. Congratulations to CPO-1 Alina Mondelli, who has been named one of Canada's top 100 most powerful women of 2021. CPO-1 Mondelli is joined by Lieutenant Colonel Tanya Maurice and Sophie Martel in the 2021 list of Canada's top most powerful women. We also extend our warm congratulations to Commanding Officer of HMCS Shawinigan, Jeremy Ruggles, on taking the ship to sea for the first time as a CO. The Naval Reserve newspaper, The Link, has gone digital. Volume 29, The Sea Remains Our Home, is available to read for free. If you're a Canadian Second World War veteran who fought in France, you may be entitled to receive France's highest distinction. For more details, get in touch with your local Royal Canadian Legion branch. The end of October brings not only crisp weather and pumpkin spice lattes, but also Halloween, and the crew of HMCS Fredericton knows exactly how to raise hell. HMCS Star is not lacking behind Freddy in Halloween celebrations. The ship's company carved jack-o'-lanterns following all COVID-19 protocols. And on this note, we conclude our October issue of Operation Navy Watch. If you have ideas or topics for discussion, please feel free to reach out on Twitter. If they fit the bill, I'll take them on board. I'm Katerina Bandura.
I'll see you next time.